Welcome to Oncology Data Advisor. Today we're here live at the ASCO annual meeting, and I'm joined by Dr. Ofer Sharon, who is the CEO of OncoHost. Thanks so much for coming on today.
Thanks for having me, Kira. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you on. We've done a couple of virtual interviews before, so it's great to do it in person. So OncoHost has a poster here on a plasma-based proteomic platform for predicting clinical benefit from immune checkpoint inhibitors in multiple cancers. To give us a little bit of background about this poster, what is the unmet need in identifying patients who are likely to benefit from immunotherapy?
Yes, so this is basically part of our clinical development plan. So if you may recall from our previous discussions, we developed a Prophet for non-small cell lung cancer test, where it is a tool that provides clinicians with clinical prediction for clinical benefit. But then what I see as even more important is also the ability to support clinical decision making. So not only are we telling clinicians what is the prediction for clinical benefit, we are also suggesting ways to optimize that same clinical benefit for the patients. And this is, for me, the essence of the product. Now, moving forward, as we develop the product, we basically would like to expand it to more indications. So the first step is always to see if the algorithm that we've created can be applied to other tumor types. And this is exactly what we are showing in the ASCO meeting this year. So we basically took the algorithm that we developed for non-small cell lung cancer and applied it blindly to new cancer types to see if the algorithm can do the same, namely predict for clinical benefit in other tumor types.
Great. So would you like to tell us a little bit more about the Prophet platform, how it was developed and how it works?
Yeah, of course. So this is a proteomics-based platform. It's a liquid biopsy, namely we require a blood sample. The blood sample is taken before treatment and sent to our lab. We have a lab in Cary, North Carolina, where it's analyzed and we deploy the tool. The core competency of OncoHost is data science, machine learning, and artificial intelligence. This is what we do. And basically what we do with the same blood sample that I've mentioned, we analyze it for expression patterns or different expression patterns of proteins. And what we learned, what we noticed very early on, is that some proteins are very clearly differentiated when it comes to patients that will benefit from treatment versus those that don't. And we were able to develop a predictor based on those proteins in the plasma of the patient taken before treatment and basically predict whether the patient will benefit or not from the treatment. So I would say this was the first step for the platform. Predictors are important, but the clinical utility of predictors is limited. Because if you think about the interaction between the patient and the physician wants to be treated, physician wants to treat the patient. Predictors that basically tells the clinician that this drug will not work are not good enough. Because what clinicians really want, and patients alike, is don't tell me what's not going to work. Tell me what is going to work for me or what's going to be better for me. So as a next step, what we did is we took the very good predictor that we developed, and it is good, the clinical results were excellent. We took it and we combined it with an existing biomarker that is being measured for all patients, but it's not very predictive. And what we saw is that we were able to stratify the patients in such a way that we are able to pinpoint for the clinician which patient will benefit from treatment A, which patient will benefit from treatment B. Already in the first line setting of metastatic non-small cell lung cancer patients. So basically we took the predictor, we took the mathematical classifier that we developed and turned it into a clinically useful tool.
It's really exciting to hear about. Congratulations on producing such a successful platform. So what was the study investigating that's in the poster here, and how was Prophet used in it?
So what we did next, in order to see whether we can apply the Prophet to other cancer types, we basically recruited cohorts of patients with different collaborators. We recruited those patients, and without knowing what's going to be the outcome of those patients, we applied the algorithm that we developed for non-small cell lung cancer to this patient population, reminding you again, different cancer types. Melanoma, HPV-related malignancies, and RCC. And what we saw is pretty interesting. We saw that the algorithm is performing very well in other cancer indications. Not talking about the clinical utility just yet, that's going to be the first step, but what we're presenting here is that the algorithm that we developed for non-small cell lung cancer can be applied to other cancer types with a pretty good, pretty impressive, it's actually presented right now as we speak, a clinical benefit prediction.
It's really exciting. So what were some of the results that are being presented here?
So we saw that patients with prophet positive versus those that got prophet negative report in RCC, the overall survival is almost 3 times better.
Wow.
Very similar results with melanoma, and with a smaller cohort of HPV-related malignancies, specifically head and neck, cervical, and anogenital cancers. So we are seeing that patients with prophet positive across all those indications are doing better, much better actually, than those with prophet negative. And the next step, of course, is going to be develop a clinical decision support tool for those specific
Right.
indications. Yeah.
That's very exciting. So what is the significance of prophet's efficacy in multiple cancer indications? Is that unique?
First of all, I think that the Prophet platform by itself is very, very unique. You know, a lot of people are asking me, investors and clinicians, who are your competitors? Who are you competing against? There are not many products in the market, definitely not in our stage, that are doing something similar, and I don't see this one as a standalone tool.
Mm-hmm.
I think that if we want to have a vision on how cancer will be managed in the future, it's going to be much more personalized than it is today.
Mm-hmm.
And as such, my objective is to make sure that the Prophet will fit in not only to one indication, not only specific to non-small cell, but can be expanded to other cancer types, earlier stages of disease, and maybe add even more components to the Prophet itself. I can discuss that briefly later, some new data that we are going to publish soon, to create a tool for a clinician. My vision is to give a clinician a report that will support the clinical decision making. I'm not trying to replace drugs. I'm not trying to tell the clinician which drug to use or not. I'm trying to help the clinician take better decisions based on more data. This is how the platform is developed. So for us, new indications, of course, are very important. I'm reluctant to say pan-cancer yet. I do want to see results in more indications, but I think that we are in this direction.
Definitely. So what are the next steps for investigating the efficacy in other indications, as well as creating this clinical decision support tool?
So very exciting days actually. About 4 weeks ago, 4, 6, we presented results at the AACR meeting. Oral presentation given by Professor Jarush Kanaido, demonstrating the ability of the Prophet platform to be a predictor for adverse events. So not only will we provide clinical benefit prediction, we'll also provide adverse events prediction, specifically high-grade immune-related adverse events. So for me, the future for the Prophet test is, as I said earlier, more indications, earlier stages of disease, not only the metastatic setting, but more importantly, more components. So not only will we provide prediction for clinical benefit, but also prediction for adverse events, which is important. When you think about the clinician and clinical management, it's all about risk management, efficacy versus toxicity. We want to be able to use the Prophet in order to give clinicians those insights when they take their decisions.
Absolutely. So looking at it from a broader point of view, how does Prophet fit into the advancing landscape of precision oncology?
So I think that we see um, huge progress. I think that we are, at this point, we are at an inflection point. I just came back from a recent lung cancer meeting it was held in New York, and almost every presentation ended with the same bullet point. It was, we need better biomarkers.
Mm-hmm.
We need better biomarkers. I think that at this point, it's pretty clear that even with immunotherapy, with the current approved combinations, the response rates, I would say, ranges between 20 to 40%. So still, majority of patients are not benefiting from the treatment, and I don't see a lot of progress done, and I don't think that we should expect for a lot more progress. I think that what we should aim for is better stratification of patients, better selection of patients. And if you look at the landscape of clinical trial, you see that there are currently thousands of clinical trials looking at combinations of immunotherapy with something. So I don't want to be a prophet, but 3 years into the future, 2 years into the future, a clinician might have 5 or 6 or 7 options to choose from already at first line. I think that Prophet, as well as other tools, should be there in order to help in this choice. And if we look at the entire landscape, so we are looking at proteomics in the plasma. Think about combining data that we get from the plasma from data that we get specifically from the tumor. So combining mutations in the tumor or proteins in tumor, mutations in the blood and proteins in the blood. I think that we are looking at unparalleled levels of information on each and every patient, which for me is very exciting.
Really incredible. Awesome. As we wrap up, anything else you'd like to mention either about the Prophet or about what the OncoHost team is doing here at ASCO?
So we have an amazing meeting ahead of us. Basically, every minute of the day is filled with meeting with investigator clinicians. OncoHost is an R&D based company. About 70% of the budget is invested in research, and we are trying to meet with the leading people in leading clinicians, leading investigators, and develop new clinical trials, basically covering all aspects, so all patient types. In lung cancer, beyond the expansion to other tumor, that is the other tumor types that we are also working on. So this ASCO is really all about expansion of our clinical development plan moving forward.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for stopping by today. It was great to hear about this poster, and looking forward to hearing more about Prophet as everything develops as well.
Perfect. Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.